You need to make a lot of bad art and be proud of it. Hi, and welcome to a new series on my channel called Story Time. This is going to be a series where I talk about a different subject every week and explore it a little bit more with you. This week we're going to be talking about living your best creative life. So I wanted to start with this subject because I created this YouTube channel probably 2-3 years ago now. I don't know the exact amount of time, but I created it with this plan that I was going to make videos all of the time, and I had all of these ideas in my head and different things that I was going to do. And over time, I've posted a few videos here and there, but definitely not on any type of schedule, and definitely not as many as I thought that I was going to do. So I thought this was a good place to start talking about that. So living your best creative life can be difficult. I've talked to several people in various differing creative fields, not even people who are doing it for a job, just being creative just to be creative. And it seems to be a lot harder than it should be. So I wanted to talk about that and talk about why that is. So, and maybe like some tips, like things that everyone kind of knows, but it's hard to follow. So the first thing I really want to go into is what happened when I started posting my videos. There's a few that I actually even posted and took down. And so what happened was I started posting videos, and I was like really excited. Like, when you first start a project, you have a lot of steam behind it. You're like really gung-ho. So I posted a couple videos, and I got a lot of feedback. Some of it was good, but a lot of it was also not that great, and that seemed to be what I paid attention to. So just people telling me what I could do better, what was wrong with my videos, the usual. And I paid attention to those people, and I really let it get into my mind and thinking about it. And so I took it down. And then I started worrying that what they were saying was true, and doubting myself. And so what I want to say about that is that they were correct. My videos they weren't the best quality. Like a lot of the critiques I got were about my editing and my audio. And on this video you'll notice that not much has changed. I'm still not the greatest at audio. I don't have all the equipment I need, and I'm not the best at editing because I need practice to become better. So that's one of the things I want to talk about living your best creative life. The first thing is that you need to make bad art, whatever your art form is. You need to make a lot of bad art and be proud of it, because you're not going to be an expert when you're first starting out, and you're also not going to be completely original when you're first starting out either. You're testing, you're making things based off what you know so far, and you have a lot of ideas in your head and what you think that you're capable of, and that's all true. You are capable of all those things, but you're not gonna just go straight from a beginner to where you want to go. You have to make a bunch of really bad art. You know, you talk to like any artist or musician or anything, when they talk about like the stuff they made, like when they first started, they kind of like giggle or cringe because it's like nowhere compared to where they are now. And it shouldn't be. Like, you definitely should be making crappy art when you're first starting. And like sometimes that's like the best stuff, you know. You get to go look back on that and yeah, maybe cringe a little, but also like that's what's going to get you to where you need to go. So another thing that I want to talk about is comparing yourself to other people. This is also something that's like really easy to do, but it can also make you paralyzed and not make you want to continue creating if you start comparing yourself to people and thinking that you should be at a certain level. This has happened to me all throughout my life. You know, when I was in college going to art school, I would compare myself to the other students, and like there would be people who were just like way better, but like they would put in hours of like sketching time, or they would be doing a lot of things differently than me. Like they're on a different path. Like you can't compare yourself to another person because they're doing their own thing. And what happens when you start doing that is you're losing focus of where you want to go and what you want to be doing. So I actually saw a meme recently on the Olympic coverage, and it was somewhere along the lines of winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. And it was a picture of Michael Phelps, and he's just like looking straight ahead at where he wants to be going, and then the person in like the swimming lane next to him was just looking at him. And that kind of says a lot. Like if you just focus on you and where you want to go, it's going to be a lot easier for you, because there's always going to be people who are better or different or unique, because we all are unique in our own ways. So just focus on yourself and where you want to go and what you want to do, and you'll be so much more happier in the process as well. Another thing that I think that you have to do to live your most creative life is you have to be willing to be uncomfortable a lot of the time. You have to do things that are outside your comfort zone, and things that honestly that you're probably afraid of doing. And that's the only way you're going to grow, and that's the only way you're going to get to where you want to go. If you're not willing to be a little bit vulnerable, then you're not going to be able to create in the way that you probably want to create. For myself, I know that doing this right now is really uncomfortable, and I've done it a few times where I've sat in front of the camera and I've filmed. A few times is actually an understatement. I've done it so many times, and it still feels super awkward, but I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to post this one this time. All the other ones are kind of just for me, and I have them stored in my computer as practice, but if I don't just do it, I'm never going to do it. So that's one of the things that you have to remember is like, I'm doing this right now, and it's super awkward, and it feels really uncomfortable, and I probably look super silly, but it's okay. I'm doing this, and I'm gonna post it, and it's gonna live on the internet for anyone to see, and I'm okay with that, because I needed to do this for myself, but also I want to do this to try to help other people. I want people to see that it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable and to do things. And it's okay to be bad at stuff. Nothing's gonna happen. It's fine. But you have to be willing to do that, and you also have to be willing. I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. Depending on what you want to do, like you can live your best creative life and have you can have different goals, like for your work or anything where that don't really have anything to do with like art or what your creativity or your creative passions are. But for myself, I have goals for like being a public speaker and growing my YouTube channel and things like that. So in order for me to make those things happen, I'm going to have to sacrifice in other areas of my life, which basically means work. Like I'm going to have to work a lot. And that's kind of hard to come to terms with sometimes, because I think a lot of people want something, but they don't, and this is myself included, they don't want to work for it though. They don't want to put the amount of work into it that is required to get what they want. And so it's not going to happen. That's just like the reality of it. And you have to make that decision that it's what you want is more important to you than anything else, and you have to be willing to sacrifice some things. Like maybe you don't spend as much money as you've been spending now, so you can save up to get like the equipment or the art supplies that you need. Maybe you don't go out. Maybe you only go out once a month with friends because you're on a schedule and you need to put in the hours of practice of drawing or playing your instrument or whatever it is that you want to get better at. You have to ask yourself as a person what's the most important to you. What areas of your life are the most important to you? What do you value the most? And based off those questions and your answers to those questions, you can design a life that will fulfill you. It won't be easy, but neither will the other. Like if you choose to not pursue your best creative life because it seems too hard or too scary or it's too much work, it's not going to be easier the other way either. That life's going to be hard too, because you're not going to feel fulfilled, and you're going to have a lot of troubles living that way, because it's not going to be true to like who you are. Another thing, another piece of advice that I have for living your most creative life is to be open to new experiences, things, and people. I recently read a book, The Year of Yes, by, I think it's Shonda Rhimes. She is the writer for Scandal and Grey's Anatomy. It's a really good book, but the lesson in it is very important. And she was someone who, she already had success based off of like, what society deemed successful. She's a writer on a hit show. But she was noticing like, she had someone in her family, I think it was her sister, point out that she was always saying no to everything. And so she decided for 1 year she was going to say yes to everything. And it completely like transformed her life. She had like so many opportunities come her way, and through those opportunities, other opportunities came. Like it was just like a domino effect for her. And I think it's really important to be open as a human, because like our first inclination sometimes is to say no immediately, and it's hard to be open to new experiences, and for myself, like new people as well. It's like it's hard to trust people, or you maybe like you're more introverted or something, so it's easier to just say no and go home. But the opportunities that can come from being open to new experiences is worth taking that risk. So maybe just next time you're thinking about saying no to something, just try try the opposite. Maybe just try it out. Another thing that I wanted to talk about that kind of goes along with the idea of going outside your comfort zone and being open to new things is go outside more, travel, go see the world, kind of, especially in this day and age where everyone's in front of a computer or holding a phone all the time. It's nice to get away from that and break away and kind of just go out into nature and reconnect. And you'll be amazed at what that can do for your creativity. Like, ideas will just start coming in. And for me personally, that's the best way to get ideas or creative inspiration. Another thing that I like to do is read a lot, like, read from people that inspire me or watch YouTube videos of people that inspire me. I try to always constantly be feeding my brain with inspiring content, so that way I am always thinking about my creative life and what I want to do and feeling inspired in that way. The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm kind of talking to myself here because I try to remind myself of this often. So I've, over the past couple of years, and as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I started a YouTube channel, and I also started a blog, and I post to the YouTube channel here and there, and I post to the blog in the beginning, but I haven't really, and I started like feeling guilty about that, or putting pressure on myself, or thinking I should have this amount of videos by now, or this many blog posts by now. Or sometimes when I just write something and I don't share it like on the blog, I'm thinking about where I should be by now, what I should have accomplished by now. And something that I need to remind myself, and I think it's good for you if you're struggling in this area to remind yourself as well, is there's no specific schedule that you need to be on, and there's also no specific amount of things that you need to have made to be considered successful. It's important to remember to just create for creating's sake. Like, not everything that you create has to be shared. Sometimes it's nice to just create for yourself and remember why you love doing that in the first place. Creating is something personal sometimes, and I think when you start thinking about an audience or how it's going to be perceived, and you start putting all those kinds of pressures on yourself, that's when it becomes hard to do it. So if you just go to a place where maybe you don't put those pressures on yourself and you're just creating for yourself, it'll start to get easier. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and you found any of it helpful. And basically just rambling at this point, but I do hope that some of it was helpful. Thank you guys, and I will see you next week with a new subject.